Oh, I'm live. How about that? I don't have, I don't have any followers to continue watching me. So, but I am right now. Oh, my fire's going out. Darn it! I'm in the woods of North Carolina. I was down with Matt and our group. That it's not a group, but we all tend to discuss things and as frequently as we can, being 2,000 miles apart, go out with each other. Um, the heat down there. It's been record heat, way more than I've been down there for 4 years. Um, Someone's coming to camp, but it was too much for me. With my MS, I have this thing called UTOMS, and it got me to a point where I couldn't even move. I couldn't really hold a conversation. I couldn't hold my head up. I was just this like puddle of uh, fat old flesh. Not an attractive kind of thing. Um, Nobody's here. Does it tell me who's here? It doesn't. Okay, well, I don't know how to use this damn thing. Let's see. And I don't know how to get this up. There we go. Anyway, I am in, let's see, I'm B. Thank you for showing up. I'm surprised anyone saw this. I haven't put a video out, and it's probably close to a year now. But thanks for stopping by. I'm outside of Asheville. I'm in the national forest, but there's so darn many of them around here. I don't know which one. Um, I should take these off, but then I can't read the comments. Um, so, sitting in the woods. It's a campground. SoCal, dude, I am so glad to see you. Uh, so I'm sitting in the woods in North Carolina because I had to bail on Matt down in Florida because it was just too hot. So I came to a spot that I stayed in on the way down. And on the way down, right now, I'm looking this way and you can't see it, but it's pitch black. So you wouldn't be able to see it anyway. Um, did I say LOL? Oh, well, I don't know. But on the way down, I didn't realize that the site that I'm in now, which is next to the one, I couldn't get that one. Someone reserved it. Those are the people that just pulled in. It's an awesome site. It kind of sits out on a point, but it overlooks the road coming in. It's also the road leaving a hiking trail up that way. And so when I got here last time, I watched all the hike. It was evening, and I watched all the hikers leave on that road as it got about this dark. It was just about this time of night, 7 o'clock. And then once they all left, a bunch of trucks started going back in there. And as they went back in there, they'd park and get out, whatever they did. I couldn't really see because I'm all the way up here. I could hear doors slam and what have you. I went to bed thinking nothing of it. Night hiking, done that. Did that, did that a few days ago with Matt down in the swamp. Um, so I'm lying in bed, and all of a sudden I hear people out there knocking and whooping. And the reason I say it's people is because it was so prolific. There was so much of it that I think those people that drove up and into that spot were out there bigfooting. So I finally got back here after way too many hot temperatures and no air conditioning in my truck. And I just happened to chat with the camp host. And I said, because I'm in this site overlooking the same thing, it's going to pour rain tonight. And he advised these spots on the hill because they don't flood. We're up on the hill. The water will flow down. It's going to pour rain all night tonight. Bama Bigfoot, how are you? Long time no see. Um, so I'm sitting here waiting to see if we hear that stuff again tonight. But as I was talking to the camp host about this site, I asked him about, are people bigfooting out there? And he was kind of like, well, yeah, probably. I guess there's a lot of that. And yeah, see, there's some tail lights going in there right now. So we'll see if I can hear that tonight. I probably won't be on here for long. I feel like absolute crap. Just had my butt kicked by the heat down there. The thing called Utovs. Wow. Anyway, but I also got talking to the camp host, and camp host was like, "Yeah, you know, I'm not really into bigfooting, blah blah blah. I don't follow that stuff." He's like, "I like all that paranormal stuff, just kind of, you know, to watch and find it interesting." And then he goes on to say, first he starts talking about, well, you know, there was this one time when I first moved to the area that I rented a cabin way out in the woods. That's my neighbor chopping wood. He just got back to camp. He's going to build a fire. My fire's kind of back up, which is good. Oh, look at that. So, camp host is saying, I lived in this cabin way out in the woods. It was just like, you know, like a rustic cabin. And he's like, one night I had this really weird night, this really weird feeling, things hitting the cabin, blah, blah, blah. And when I went out the front door looking around, in the middle of, you know, the walkway in front of me was a huge ground stick, like a big stick just stuck deep into the ground. Now I have a friend in Florida. I don't want to out them. I would never mention, you know, Matt from Central Florida Bigfoot's name in public, like in a derogatory way. But he insists that he has seen twigs stick into the ground. Well, Florida's muddy. Florida has hogs. Hogs dig up the ground. The ground where they get dug up is soft. I tried to walk on it all last week and it was miserable. And yeah, those twigs, especially the lightweight Y sticks, will spin down, you know, like little willow sprigs and stick in the ground. Well, that's gravel right there because I'm at a campsite. But underneath the pine needles is this firm, hard packed soil. And that's the kind of soil this guy's talking about. That's the kind of soil I've always been talking about with ground sticks. Real northern ground sticks. I won't tell you what I told Matt what I called them, but I called them, yeah, Florida, we'll say wimpy, Florida wimpy ground twigs. These are not. These are big, thick sticks jammed into hard earth. And I find that interesting. What I really find interesting is that this camp host volunteered it. And I think that was really kind of cool and interesting. So we chatted for a bit. It ran the gamut on paranormal, basically. But then he was talking about working, and I didn't bring up push downs. I didn't try and feed him any of the things that we say happen with you know something? All right. Thank you, Brent, and welcome. But the fact that you think there may be something to this, it's odd, right? But if you say maybe there's something to this, then that lends a lot of credibility to ground sticks, only because you know, Brent is one of those people who's going to vet it. If it's BS, he's going to say, I think that's BS. And I think this person thinks it's BS or is spewing BS, and this person is spewing BS. And if they want to talk shit about me, they can come talk to me. So I appreciate the fact that Brent just said that. And now here's another person who's really not a big Bigfooter saying this was his experience with Bigfoot. Hey, Bama, I don't know what it means. I don't know if it means anything. Um, think about when you were a kid and, you got a stick at the beach or, in sandy soil, you would do things. Maybe these are just, hey, there's a big stick. I'm kind of cranky. I'm going to jam it in the ground. And that's all it is, a way to vent. Who knows? But if they do it, does it even matter? What I'm trying to figure out is that line, you know? Do we need to know if they do structures? Do we need to know if they do ground sticks? Do we need to know if they do certain things that we give them credit for? Or if it's just, these like parallel coincidences, parallel oddities? Who knows? I will say that being out with Matt, I did see a Florida wimpy ground twig fall from a tree and end up in the ground. So now I gotta lean forward to read. So yeah, Brent, he's talking about how not sure what they mean, but it's bizarre because it's not falling from above or flung as a tree falls. And that's the curious thing. And it's not just here. I know that you and, I don't know where she went, but you talked to Deborah Flello, and they used to find a ton of these like over in France. And there would be these, fairly large sticks stuck into fairly hard ground. And it wasn't like a slivered break, where it ends up with that really pointy thing. That'd be easier to get in the ground. They seem to be these butt ended sticks just stuck in the ground. So, Bama, it could be. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens in the woods. And, whether you're in Maine or New Hampshire or Vermont, or whether you're in Georgia or, South Carolina or North Carolina or Florida, it's amazing the things you found, like that stick thing that Matt found in the swamp. Um, it's a curious thing. So, SoCal, yeah, that's what Matt is saying. And it depends, I think, on the density of the soil and the sharpness of the stick. There are a lot of people finding things that are these butt ended sticks dug into this hard soil. I don't know if it's anything. My point is that I'm at this camp where people are bigfooting, on what seems to be a fairly regular basis. And that the camp host volunteered information on these. He's putting up his tent now. Maybe he's chopping wood. I don't know. But camp host rarely will tell you anything about, bigfooting or anything like that. He's a volunteer, so he's not going to get fired and lose his pension. The other thing he said was he was out working in the woods. And, sometimes trees around here die. Last year, I put out a video about the tree fall over while I was camping. So, and he talked a little bit about that. He volunteered the information. He said, sometimes there are trees that need to be taken down, but sometimes there are trees that just need to be pushed over to be taken down. And so he was making sure that there weren't any widowmakers out there at these campsites. Did a good job here. I already checked. And he, found one and pushed it over. checked to see if he could push it over, pushed it, and it went right over. Made a huge crashing sound. You know, when it's when the branches above hit the ground, like the branches up in the tree hit the ground, it makes that shattering sound. So his tree was barely done making a noise when a tree behind him, like up the hill, fell and did the same thing. So that's I am in a campground. I just want you to know that. So, but right after his tree finished making the noises, the other one fell up the hill, and he was like, "Whoa, I'm just gonna get out of here." And at that point, we started having more of a conversation. I'm like, how did you know that that's a big thing? How do you know that? And he did say, well, you know, I follow it a little bit. So right now, I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna watch the woods, the road down below. You can probably hear that. That was another truck heading in. So at some point soon, perhaps I will get. I will be getting wood knocks and whoops. I don't think they're going to be Bigfoot. Although I am in a huge tract of national forest. Right here, right over there, is an experimental forest. I'll give away the location, but it's not my research location. And then right over there is the North Carolina Arboretum, which is kind of a cool place and a great place to talk to people who know stuff about trees, interested in finding out what's going on in the woods around you. Is it Bigfoot or is it something else? You know, is it natural? Not that Bigfoot wouldn't be natural if Bigfoot is not. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so now you know where I am. But I'm watching the road down below, and that parking lot at night, 7:30 at night, is starting to get a few trucks in it. There's still a few hikers leaving, but there's a whole lot going in. So I will keep you posted. I'll let you know what I see. I'm gonna slide this forward. It's not very smooth, but and see if I've missed anything here in the chat. Oh crap. Yeah, I'm just getting to that, you know, weird shoved in 5 to 6 inches sometimes. Yeah. That, I mean, I found them, you know, where is it? Like, you know, this deep in the ground with a big butt end on a 2.5 inch limb. And that when I say butt end, it's a little jagged. It's not like it's saw cut, but it's not like it's, you know, one of those long, sharp breaks. Um, Small holes with sticks left in them, that would be tool. Yeah, there we go. Like something was digging a hole with a small stick, either to pass the time or to dig for ants or something. We once found mushrooms, truffles that grew. Yep, up on a 7-foot tree break. That's very interesting, Fred. That's that's very interesting. That's curious. Um, Not just because the mushrooms up there, but the whole 7-foot tree break. I don't know if I told you about my fence post phenomenon that I had at one of my research areas, where these trees were all broken off at about the same level. I think we probably argued about it, even though we're probably on the same side of it. Just bickered back and forth a little, just because that's what we tend to do about the semantics of it, trying to figure out what each other's thinking. Not a bad thing. So, but so far, nothing out there. No whoops, no knocks. Not that they would be real. I need to stress that. So, but I'm going to stoke my fire. I'm going to, yeah, start. It's supposed to pour rain tonight for about 8 hours of torrential like rainfall. So I'm going to stoke my fire. I'm going to do that. I will go if I start to hear the whoops and knocks. I'm going to set up a mic to this camera and turn it out towards that area so that you can hear what other Bigfooters sound like in the woods, so that we don't have to send up the red flag and start screaming Bigfoot, Bigfoot, it's Bigfoot out there, when it's just other people looking for Bigfoot, which seems to be the bulk of any whoops or knocks that I've heard. Uh, that can't be attributed to barred owls or coyotes or what have you. And I don't want to pee on anyone's Cheerios. It's just the more that I sit and actually listen instead of get excited, the more I actually realize isn't Bigfoot. Now, I've seen these things, I know they're out there. So as not to diminish anyone's, you know, like idea that there is Bigfoot. There is Bigfoot. I don't think it's as rampant as we say. And I don't want to, really, I don't want to disappoint anyone. Those are my thoughts. And that's it. You don't have to agree with me. You can hate me for it. But, uh, but yeah, the more we sit and listen, I think the more we're going to rationalize just how much of it is or isn't what we're looking for. So, Brent, thank you for coming. SoCal, thank you for coming. Bama, thank you for coming. Aunt B, thank you for coming. I'll be around for, I don't know, a couple weeks probably. I love this area. And then I have to start heading back north to Boston. But so that's all I'm here to say for now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching. Oh, I got new comments. Hold on. Texas Jack. Thank you, man. You stay safe too. Trail to Bigfoot. Holy smokes. I was down. I was going to give you a call, and the heat was too much, dude. I had to bail. But even Ron was like, have you called Chris yet? I'm like, I just walked in the door, dude. So I couldn't handle it. It was way too hot down there. And it affects my Utah syndrome, which brings out all I am is a slurring blob of old man. So SoCal, I find that one good tree knock works the best. So, I'm not really a knocker. But listening to people, not just here, but up in the woods in New Hampshire and several different places in New Hampshire, there are people who knock and whoop and knock and whoop, and it doesn't do much. I had one experience down by Waterville Valley. There's an awesome little campground, and I think the entire town must go out bigfooting at night and walk up and down the power lines, which were right behind the campground that I stayed in. And it was crazy. You could see lines of people with flashlights, and they were all just whooping and knocking. But that night, I heard a coyote go off, which duplicated a sound that I had heard 1,600 miles away and didn't think was a coyote. So I did learn something, and it was probably caused by all those stupid Bigfooters. Not that they're stupid. They were just in my way that night. One night, I had a group of Bigfooters, father and son. Awesome. They were at a campsite. I don't know how far up the road it was. I couldn't find them. I couldn't see them. I couldn't see lights. And I did a live that night. But the father and son was a young kid. You could tell by his whoops and howls that he was probably under 10. And they did their whoops and knocks. And then it was bedtime for the kid. And they stopped. And I was right on a stream. So it was just a babbling brook, so I could still hear everything going on around me. It was not like a loud river blocking my sound, and I could hear something walking through that water. And I was sitting in the screen room on my tent. I had my big base camp set up, and I got up and I walked over to Summer Sasquatch. Thank you very much for showing up. Um, but I walked up to the edge of the tent and I took out my big bright flashlight. Chris, you know the one, it's got that super bright thing. It's like a headlight. Uh, and I beamed that out up and down the little brook to see if I could see what this thing was. And I got this huffy man bark that you could feel right here. And I think the father and son doing their little Bigfooting thing, even though they didn't think they were really, the dad, I'm sure, didn't think he was really going to get anything, or he wouldn't have brought his 10-year-old son to a point like that. But that went on. And when they stopped, this thing came in kind of to investigate. And instead of finding them, he found me. And it was quite an interesting night. And that was that was actually a night where now this could have been anything. This could have been a bear, this could have been a beaver, this could have been a raccoon. But when I was sleeping that night, something went under the tent, like it was lifting the mattress that I was sleeping on, the air mattress that I was sleeping on, because my rooftop tent has been sold. I'm looking for another one if anyone has any good ideas. So when you take a huffy man bark and when you take an incident like your tent being lifted and put them together, that's when things start to get interesting. One or the other, it may or may not be, you know. Patrick Noble, how are you? Patrick, I am in North Carolina. I just thought I'd tell you that. Max Powers, Bigfoot Hunter at gmail.com. And I drive. I have a car and gas. SoCal Forest Ninjas, I've noticed in Idaho. So, yeah, I'm with you on the coyote thing. I don't know. You hear all different kinds of things, and it's a matter, I think, of taking these eyewitness accounts and experiences, and maybe doing a giant Venn diagram. Michael Haywood, how are you, Mr. Haywood? Pardon me. So, um, and Brandy Haywood, are you guys married or not? I don't even know. You got the same last name. It's possible you could be brother and sister. I don't know. So, but yeah, that's what I'm doing here. I'm sitting in the woods. I'm waiting to see if we hear any of the Bigfooters around, because I have word that yeah, there are Bigfooters around. I'd be inclined to think tent lifting on its own. So yeah, it's New Hampshire. It, up northern New England, even the Berkshires and Western Mass, and down through Connecticut, where Discover Sasquatch is. Um, like we have bears. We have big bears compared to the bears like down in Florida. They're not all big, but they can get real big. Just black bear, but they're fairly significant. And with the weather now, they don't hibernate. Not that bears hibernate; they go into torpor. Yada yada yada. I get it, but they're very active. Plus, with the weather patterns that we have in New England now, where everything doesn't freeze solid the way it used to. Like we used to get a freeze, snow would fall, and there'd pretty much be snow from fall all the way through until spring. That's not the case now. So what happens is the bears get wet then, and they get up and move. Um, but there are, especially like southern New Hampshire, I don't even think they bother taking a nap at this point. I don't think their metabolism slows down at all because it's just not cold enough to do that. You know. Yeah, something went under my tent. Something. So, trail to Bigfoot, Chris. Have you ever heard Bigfoot Dave tell his story about his tent being lifted and then slowly put back down? I can totally relate. Like then, I feel bad, Bigfoot Dave is a nice enough guy. He tells a good story. But I kind of thought, I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, this happened to me, and it went under my mattress and lifted one corner of it. This was not my head. This was down by my feet. And I woke up, and when you wake up and something's going on, and you do that, whoa, 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 whoa. I did that, and it backed right out, and my feet pretty much dropped. And I was just coming to. I heard footsteps running away. Was it bipedal? Was it quadruped? Who knows? So, Brandy and Michael, congratulations. I feel bad I wasn't invited to the wedding, but the gift will be on the way. If I ever come up with a Max Power sticker, maybe we'll do that. Yeah, Chris, I have been trying to get a look at that video on a bigger screen of the recent touch thing. I think that Ron and I had a bizarre experience right out on that in that area as well. It's both of our stories to tell, but it involved chills down our back as we crossed water and odd lights, and just this weird feeling. If Ron turns back to camp, it's time to turn back to camp. That's all I'm saying. Let's see. What else do we have here? Most people don't get it. So I've had weird experiences all my life. And the reason that I'm not an asshole. Yeah, no, I am, but not necessarily about Bigfoot. But the reason I'm skeptical now is because I don't want to be the crazy guy. All these experiences I had as a little kid, where Bigfoot was my imaginary friend. My family still calls me Booger because that was my nickname because I was talking to Bigfoot out the window. I was talking to him at 3 a.m, and my window was open wider than I could ever open it. But that's weird stuff. And so now I try and look for the science side of it. Just to know I'm not crazy, to know, hey, listen, we could probably prove this thing with this little incremental science. If we just look at each little piece of evidence and collect that evidence and then hand it over to people who are, pardon me, but what I call actual fucking scientists to look at it. People who have a degree in looking at that kind of data, whether it's footprints or whether it's, and I'm not talking about Meldrum, and no offense, right? If we have a footprint, Meldrum is an expert, but Meldrum is an expert who also makes his money talking about Bigfoot existing. So what I want is I want to find, people like that. What was he? The one-legged prosthetic, computerized prosthetic limb designer who had 2 degrees, one in computer robotics, excuse me, and the other in, what do you call that? Movement, movement of, I forget what the word is, but that's my job now, is to forget, because that's the way my brain works. But that's why I'm such a thing. And I understand people don't get it. And so I don't like to talk about this in groups of, normal people. But when you get me in a group like I was in just a couple days ago with a bunch of Bigfooters, it's much easier to do that. And these chats are an awesome thing for it. Well, I'm looking at this Trail to Bigfoot comment here over on the side. about him getting touched on the calves. I haven't been touched, but like we really started talking that day that I was out in the woods and I had the thumps. No gators around. It was in New England. Um, so I had the big sack of potatoes drop. I had footsteps all around me. I got lost in a woods that I spent, 40 years in. It was my playground, you know. That's the kind of odd stuff. That's right about the end, Patrick Noble. Right about the end of my stay, I got to start heading back to Boston for a treatment. Yeah. I'm scrolling down, folks. Yeah, I get that. And I don't know what you and Chris are working on right now, Chris, when you talk about working through your science eyes. I get that. Um, I'd love to know what you found out. And actually, I was hoping to talk to you while I was down there if I hadn't bailed on the trip, because I've come across a couple maps that just make things curious to me. And you know, I'm in a state of yo on it, and it's not yes, it's not no, it's kind of yo. I haven't run out and bought a tri-field meter, and I don't even know if that's in the budget, but um, I have a theory. This isn't something we'll discuss here because it has to do with what you're researching. I don't want to blow any of that, and what you and Chris are working on. I have some ideas. I said theory, and everybody in Bigfooting knows that all we have are ideas. We, we don't know enough to have theories yet. Um, so, so yeah, we should have a talk. I wish that I was still down there so that we could, but you know how hot it's been down there. It's crazy. You're setting records. So I'm right outside of Asheville because I like beer and I heard they had a lot of it. So totally understand where you're coming from, Max. I don't know how far back these are going. Trail to Bigfoot. Yeah. Eh? Are you calling me Canadian, Grasshopper? Eh? You wearing a tuck when you say eh? Are you drinking beer? Eh? Well, Um, I'm not walking around the Florida woods barefoot. That's for damn sure. You should see my feet. I once again, anytime I'm in Florida, I find those damn red ants, and they will bite you, and you will have those marks. I'll have these marks on my feet for like the next month, and even then, they'll still be there. It's just that they won't be red and bumpy like this, but they'll still be there. Kevin Harder. Let's see. Give him, yeah. Somebody's got to give him crap because he's busy giving people crap. So keep giving him crap. So, Jack, I agree with you. I like the term hypothesis is what you formulate, your theories on, right? It's what you start your research with. And I don't want to be the jerk, but in the Bigfoot world, with very few exceptions, and there's a lot of people who take offense when I say that, but I do understand there are people who are doing this right. But the bulk of Bigfooters out there are basing most of their like they're the platform that they're diving off of is built on uh, Aristotelian suppositions, right? So things that other people have told us are true about this subject, that we now believe as lore, even though they've never been successfully vetted. So at this point, very few of us have legitimate hypotheses. And all we have, Jack, I think, are ideas. And until we start cleaning up our act and bringing on board non Bigfoot vetting, right? This is how we need to quote unquote publish, um, for peer review. Uh, until we start doing that, and I think it's easy to do because if you find something that pertains to a science, right, that someone is studying, and someone's studying everything out there. So if we find things that pertain to what someone is studying, we ask those people, hey, I think this has something to do with what you're studying. Would you look at it? And they look at it. Either they're going to be unimpressed, right? Oh, yeah, well, or they'll say, oh, yeah, this does go with my study. And they'll tell you what it was. This is, let's say it's a call. Well, this is a, jackalope from this area, and sometimes they wander into this area, which is where you found it. So that's all it is. We'll find that. That's great. We know that now, and we don't have to worry about that information. But they may say, holy shit, I've never heard anything like that, or I don't know what this is, but I'm interested in it. And once we can do that, then we really step up the game. And then when we have one scientist, when we have another question, we can ask that scientist that, hey, who studies this? They're going to know. When I was out in the woods, the Bartlett Experimental Forest, and I was talking to, people who are getting their master's and doctorate in tree stuff. If I showed someone a picture of what I thought was potential evidence, they would either look at it and say, I don't know what that is, or look at it and say, oh, that's this, blah, 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 blah. Or they'd say, I don't know, but I know someone who might. And they send the picture off to their buddy who gets back to you and says, who gets back to them anyway, and says, oh, that's just this. So we're going to learn way more doing that than calling our buddy, the Bigfooter, who read a book on it, and there's something to that, like Sasquatch Wizard Adirondack worked his ass off trying to figure out, the two of us were both trying to figure out what's going on in the woods of New England with these structures and shapes and all these things. And he went about it one way by actually learning. And, that's just not my MO. I have a CEO mentality. I went to people who already knew and I said, hey, what's this? I'm not lazy. It's just, in my opinion, it was more efficient. That was a long thing for hypotheses rather than theories, Jack. And I don't mean to belittle that statement. I agree. And I know that you're someone who's out there. So I'm going to let you do that. Yeah, SoCal until we walk around with the Bigfoot. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like, do we argue over tree structures? If they make them or not, does that mean they don't exist? No. Like, not at all. Has nothing to do with it. So why do we argue about it? Let's find the big. If you want to look at tree structures, take pictures of tree structures, talk about tree structures, that's fine. But can we pin it to them? No, not really. So let's not fight about it. Let's allow people their little boxes to put things in. You're here to take Graz's crap. You're here to give a little, Mike. I gotta say. Although you're very nice in this chat. I don't know why. All right. You do have to develop a test, Chris. I'm finally catching up to things here. You have to develop. Yes, absolutely, you do. I All I'm saying is a lot of the research that we're doing, quote unquote research, and I really we need to put that in quotes with parentheses afterwards that say a lot of disclaimers. Um, you have to test your hypothesis, but we also can't base our hypotheses on um, on other people's ideas that we have not substantiated, because that's like building a house on a sandy foundation. You just can't do it. And so it's very hard in this business. I call it a business in this line of work to have a solid foundation to start off of. I think we have to scrap everything, even if we go to and I think there's a lot to be found in eyewitness accounts. I think that's where the bulk of our information is going to come from now. There are more and more of them. Is that whooping? I think that's people. I don't think that's a dog. And I don't think it's a Bigfoot. We'll keep keep an eye on that situation. Um, we don't have a lot of basis. We don't have that solid foundation to build our ideas off of. And once again, we need to have this conversation off the air, because I have ideas that could possibly pertain to the actual quantum physics, not the uh, like the religion quantum physics part of it. And there's a fine line there, and how that pertains to Bigfoot. So we should talk, but we can have hypotheses, we can do legitimate studies, but we need to take baby steps. And some of us are more advanced than others. I'll give you that. But a lot of the Bigfoot world is coming is it's completely fragmented, really, right? So no judgment on anyone, because we're all allowed to be, on any side of this argument that we want to be on. And we all have our reasons for being there, and I respect that. But there needs to be a way to back it up to a certain extent for those of us who need to do that. The other problem we have is that YouTube, it's like going to Facebook for news. This is not a science journal. This is not the New England Journal of Medicine. We are not doctors on this subject looking for peer review. Some of us are entertainers. Some of us just enjoy being out in the woods and documenting that, and that's fine. It's when we start making claims and when other people start accepting that blindly and building their ideas on it, and that's when things get sloppy. Because if we have one person who's just out here having fun and one person who sees what they're saying and bases like their ideas off of that, it can get slippery. And no judgment on anyone, right? I'm from Massachusetts. I put the lib in liberal. Let's see. Can't say I disagree with that. Yeah, especially if you listen to me, Jack. This is all I friggin' talk about anymore. I and I can't not talk about it. I didn't come on here to have this discussion with anyone. I just can't keep my damn mouth shut. You know what? I don't watch. I watched Matt's live from the other night tonight. Finally, even though I was technically there, I didn't see it. Thank you for all the shout outs, everybody. I don't watch many Bigfoot things anymore. I just don't have time. I'm a Bigfoot. I get it. I get it. Grew up on a property with something on it. 1,200 acres of their playground and mine. And there were days I wanted to be there and days I wouldn't. And at a very young age, I learned there's something out there. You just have to accept it. I don't really need to prove it. I have a background of solving problems, like from running businesses. We need to do this. We're not doing it. How do we improve that? And we really still haven't gotten anywhere from the Patty. And that depends on what Matt has to say about it. I don't know. He's out trying to figure it out, and based on what he says, that was the luckiest film ever shot. But I'll leave that to him. And yeah, and it left us just, even when we discuss it, we're still with like, so what is it? We don't know. Is it a Bigfoot? It probably is, because of all the suit discussions, right? But everyone's been down that road. He's looking into film discussions, and that's a perfect example of when I say, let's have an expert look at it. That's that guy chopping wood, pitching a tent. Hello, Sandra. Thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Yeah, listen, SoCal and Bama, I get it. I do. I understand that. They're out there. I've seen them. I know they're there. I've had the experiences that people call woo. That's how Chris from Trail to Bigfoot and I really started talking. I started talking to Mark, but Chris was the one who kind of said, "Hey, dude, shame on you for going out there alone. Do you know what these things are?" And I don't. So leave. Oh, do you guys know I grew up in Buzzards Bay? Yeah, Carter will have their own species of. It would make sense, Kevin. It certainly would. I'm reading everybody's. Sandra, thank you for stopping by. I know I already said that, but all right, let's see. I don't know what you're true adding me, Brandy, Mrs. Haywood. But thanks. I'm so far behind on this chat. Patrick Noble. Donald Fuller's here. Yep. Listen, there could very well be. I'm in, I'm in a campground. There's a dumpster behind me. I was disappointed in that. Can't they put that behind a fence? I think my truck is blocking it. But Chris Connor's with the questions. Do you guys want to hear an interesting piece of woo that doesn't have a damn thing to do with Bigfoot? Now that Chris Connors asked me the question, how have your dreams been lately? On the way down from New England, I stayed in a like one of those envelope campgrounds in a national forest in Virginia. I was the only person there. It was a 30-site campground. It was freezing out. It was along a river, miles off normal roads. Beautiful place. It was a mountain like chain, not like the Appalachians, but what do you call that? A ridge line that mirrored the Skyline Drive ridgeline. So when you would get to the top of this mountain, you would look across at Skyline Drive. I have no problem camping alone. If something kills me, I think that would be awesome. Think of the publicity. I would be the most famous dead Bigfooter out there if I were killed by Bigfoot. So I got there late at night. It was like 10 o'clock, set up my tent, climb in, go to bed, and lean over, I had my headlamp next to me, shut it off, and I put my head down on the pillow. Put my head down on the pillow, and I hear thump, thump, like, the 50-pound sack of potatoes. And I'm on an air mattress because I'm a wuss these days. And it like reverberates. So it's a thump, like coming from the ground. Like, okay. So I listen for a while and I doze off. I'm going to try and stroll a little as I do that. Everyone take a smoke break till Max catches up. Dude, I'm never going to catch up. I'm the slow kid. I wake back up at, it's probably at this point in time, maybe it's 1 or 2 in the morning. And I have this right now, got rid of my rooftop tent. I was sleeping in one of those Frisbee tents, those 2-second setups. It's actually a really good tent. Really good tent. And now you can buy them at Walmart for $80. I did not pay $80 and I'm pissed that Walmart's selling it for $80. But this is a good one because it's white on the outside, so it reflects the heat from the sun. It's black on the inside, so you can sleep if you're out all night bigfooting. You can sleep during the day. The problem is that I sleep too long in it because of that. Anyway, I'm inside of that. In the upper corner at 2 a.m., I'm awoken by just a feeling, an odd feeling. In the upper corner, the door's shut, but in the upper corner of the door, in the side where the flap opens, there's these 2 little royal blue, they're like gaseous clouds, transparent, vague, but they slowly get brighter and closer, and they kind of come towards me. As they are coming, now that it's only 6 feet from the door to where my head was, as they get closer to me, they appear to be in, the only thing I can think of is like, as a kid when you blew soap bubbles, that gas was inside a bubble like that. So in that center of that gas starts to form these, this sounds crazy. It really does. And I don't know what to tell you. Was I still asleep and just dreaming? I don't know. But it's a cross between like an alien head and, do you remember the sun in that stupid Teletubby show? Like that freaky sun with the giggly face. But the eyes, it was blue, and the eyes were like this opalescent blue. They weren't, a pupil eye. They were like an alien eye, but they were this opalescent, like navy blue color. And these things kind of just came down towards me. And as they got to, right in front of me, I was just kind of like, what the WTF? And I didn't know what to do. So I said, you guys aren't supposed to be here right now. Get out. And they did. They kind of went, they just disappeared. So was I asleep? I don't know. Was it bizarre as hell? I don't know. So people who think because I'm looking for the science and I'm poo-pooing that what people are calling the woo, and we need to come up with a better term, I'm not at all. This shit happens. Do I know what it was? No. But I'm going to tell you what I don't think it was. I don't think it was Bigfoot. I don't think it was anything related to Bigfoot. I think it was just something fucked up in the woods. I don't know how else to say that. Sandra Piper, I hope I didn't offend you with that crass language, but there's weird shit out there, you know? And so I get that. And I'm not saying that your weird shit or my weird shit can't exist because science exists. That's not it. I'm saying that we will have an incredibly hard time quantifying these things on like unquantifiable numbers. My tax accountant can do it with with my businesses. That's great, you know, but that's funds, not science. Two totally different things. There needs to be like, you know, there needs to be proof before we can say things and build more on it. It's not that we can't say things. Anyone can say anything, but you can't take what someone said and build anything on it if it's not substantiated, because then what you're saying has no. See, I've said that. I'm moving on. Donald Fuller, deep sea fished in Buzzards Bay. Lots of sand sharks in Buzzards Bay. They do put up a good fight, I think. Well, see, yeah, my problem is I still do it. I go out alone for weeks at a time. You know, I'm here alone, but this is just to kind of I'm resting after the heat kicked my butt. So I prefer to go out alone too, because no one talks the whole time. And it's hard not to do that because I'm guilty of it too. When I'm out with someone, I say, "Hey, did you see this thing, or do you know about this thing?" We all do that. Okay. I know, Sandra, I like these kind of things too. I feel like Lee right now. I have had dreams about them. They're odd when it happens. You know what? I did see Kevin Harder. I did see Massanutten. Um, would it have been the George Washington National Forest? It was one of the furnaces, and there are a couple. I wasn't as far. I wasn't as far west as like Wolf Gap. Well, I already said I was in Virginia, and Wolf Gap is that line between. But it was, you know how there's a bunch of these furnace campgrounds. I was in. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember the name of it because I have a lousy memory. But Kevin Harder, that's where I was. If you know that area. I wasn't young enough, but I'm old enough to have friends with kids who saw it. Donald Fuller. I have not tried seeing the Brown Mountain Lights. I'm not even sure what they are. I think I vaguely have heard about them. Wow, I'm way behind because she's just now talking about my cousin, Patrick Normal. Oh, no. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, so there's that. Elizabeth Furnace. That's what it was, Kevin Harder. Elizabeth Furnace. I was the only guy there. Someone did walk through. Does a trail pass through that? Um, which I thought was odd, but there was scuffing of like sneakers on pavement because there is a paved road that goes through it. Um, so um, that was after the blue light thingy, and it shined a flashlight on my tent. So I don't think Bigfoots carry flashlights. Pretty sure, unless that's the orbs that we're seeing. I don't know. So, all right. Um, wow. Now it's been. Oh, did you hear that? No, because I didn't set the mic up. But there was just a knock. Not that I know that Bigfoot does that. There was just a knock over there, in the direction that they were coming from the other night. So I'm sure it's probably Bigfooters. I don't have proof of that. Northeast Arkansas. That's southwest of here, man. Welcome, Vicky. Yeah, I I'm gonna shut up. Um, and I'm gonna try and turn this way. And I'm gonna listen. There's some knocking going on out there. You probably can't, you probably can't listen with me stoking the fire. I'm sorry. It stopped, of course, when I stopped for you to listen. I hope that didn't bore you. Oh, Donald Fuller. Earlier, I was saying last time I camped here, there were tons of Bigfooters out there. I don't think it's Bigfoot. I think it's. And again tonight, there were trucks pulling into that parking lot over there. So. I gotta get my water. Excuse me. There we go. All right. Well, I don't think it was splitting wood. It was one, excuse me, and then another, not too far apart. And that's the same thing that was going on pretty much a week ago when I was here. So. So. Anybody have anything to talk about, or should I just kind of pack up and call it a night? Burn all this wood and let the rain put it out. But for me, so Claude, it came from allergies, and Then I had postnasal drip. And so I took Mucinex. So every once in a while, this Mucinex kicks in, and I'm glad you all know that now. But Jeff, how are you? Here we go. All right. So no questions coming in. I think I'm gonna call it a night, get this fire stoked, and I don't have any marshmallows. They're not on my diet. So it's a both of you, unless you were dragging his wife into this. Don't drag his wife into this. Pollen, you know what? Yeah, pollen in Florida was awful. My truck is yellow. It's going to rain tonight, though, so we call that a Cape Cod car wash. No one on the Cape washes their car. Maybe rich people do, but I don't. So I left Florida. I came here, and all the trees are budding, and it's awful. And then I'll get home, and the snow will melt, and it'll start there. Ooh. I wish you luck with that, Claude. I'm sorry. Lately during pollen season, I have to take not just something for the allergies, but I have to take Mucinex too, or I get these wicked ear infections and sore throats. I don't have an immune system. That might be it. How far up are you, Donald? Heather Lynn Bennett. I know that Ron passed on my the fact that I wasn't able to make it. I wasn't able to stick around there. So sorry that I missed you guys this year. I don't know if I'll ever be back to Florida to Bigfoot again, just because of that heat and the way it affected me. So, but New England is rife with activity if you kids are game. So, oh, I had when I was a little kid, I had so many shots. I was like a pin cushion. Both of my arms, they would give me a shot in each arm, and they would swell up and be bright red. And I did that like through high school. Are you Canadian or are you an American? Are you in Vermont or are you on the across the border? I mean, I'm up, in like the Northeast Kingdom all the time, in the Great North Woods. So that's why I ask. Vermonter. Okay, good. That's good. See, you wear a hat, not a toque. So I said I'd go, but I lied, didn't I? Any questions? Anybody want to stir some shit? Get me on a rant? All right. I am gonna I don't know. I'm gonna camp. See what I can hear. And like I said, if I hear that stuff starting, I'll probably pop the mic on and go live again. So thank you all for showing up. And I hope you have a good night. That's probably gonna be an early one for me. This has been a rough week. Verminsters. Randy, thank you. You have a good night. Donald Fuller, have a good night. Um, and I got to figure out how to end this. Oh, there's a red button there that says end. That's good. Black Ops Sir producers. No, you can produce it in Vermont without any problem, right? That was yeah, that was pretty easy. We used to have lines run. That was the easy way to do it when I was a kid. Thank you, Heather. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed you guys while I was down. It was way too short. I was supposed to be down for like a month, and it was just too damn hot. Florida heat was cooking my brain in my head. So, wouldn't it be great? Maybe my tent will get lifted or poked again. It's usually the pressing down. When I had the rooftop tent, I got a finger poke once. The only thing I would have been able to reach that high up would have been like a moose, and a moose aren't gentle enough, and they don't have a small bump on their antlers. They got a big one, so maybe something to fold me up like a tent taco and drag me away. That'll be awesome. I doubt it because I'm in a campground with a fire ring and a dumpster. So have a good night, everyone. I'm out.